Okay, I'm going to get started here. Hello, in case there's anyone who found this stream that doesn't already know me, I'm Vance. Um, I've been using Notion for about 2 years now. I'm not like the most super pro with it or anything, um, but I'm pretty comfortable with it. So I'm hoping that I can share some info about it with more folks here because I think it's a really useful app that can really like help improve your organization and make it easier to get things done in life, or make it easier to keep track of information and stuff like that. But it's not always the most intuitive to figure out how to use it, especially how to use the more powerful features. So, yeah, um, that's what I want to try to share with you all. And just just want to say, I absolutely am happy to answer any questions that people have. So, if you have a YouTube account, definitely feel free to um, make any comments in the chat. Tell me how you like, if you do something differently than me, like, I'd be interested to hear that. Or, like, if you have any questions about what I'm doing, or just questions about Notion in general, just drop those in the chat anytime. And if you're one of my friends who I invited to watch this and you don't have a YouTube account, um, if you're watching and you have questions as we go along, you can send me like a Discord message or a text or whatever. I'll loosely keep an eye on my phone as we go, um, and see if, yeah, if anyone has questions, you can get it to me that way. So, also, um, if there's any trouble with my mic, please let me know if you're not getting audio at some point, because my mic can be kind of finicky. Right, so let's just start with what even is Notion? I'm here on the homepage and of it's notion.so. That's the URL for the Notion product or whatever. So it's basically a note-taking software. What they showcase these 3 different use cases on their website. You have wikis, centralize your knowledge, no more hunting for answers. So it's like, for them, a wiki is just a page where you store a bunch of information about different, for this case, it's like processes for this company and information about their code base, and it's like a directory of different categories of information. Um, their next use case that they show off is projects, where you can track, um, projects that you're working on and the tasks that make up those projects, and you can also track, like, time related to when you're working on things or when they're due or whatever. And then the last use case they mentioned is just docs, which is, just basic note-taking, similar to like Google Docs or whatever, but it's definitely more flexible and powerful than something like a Google Doc or a regular word processor, and we will get into that in just a moment. So, switching over to this is Notion right here. This is my outline for this workshop is actually just a Notion page itself. Um, so this is what the Notion screen looks like. And before we dive into all the different parts of the screen here, I'm going to show you just creating your first page in Notion. So I can create a new page with, oops, it's not, okay, let's try this. Creating a new page called test page. It's actually going to be a sub page within my workshop page, but that's not important right now. Yeah. Okay, so here's our new empty page. We can obviously just start typing into the page to just add some text to it. We can add a couple different blocks of text, and every time you hit enter, you'll create what's called a new block. And in Notion, it's not just, just like one flow of text like you would see in like a word processor. Every time you hit enter, it creates a new sort of unit called a block. And you can hover over these blocks to get these 6 dots on the left side. And this is a handle you can use to drag the blocks around. And you can use that to reorder your text. You can even drag them to the side of each other to create columns and organize them that way. There's some limitations on creating columns. You can't just freely drag them around as if it were like a graphics editor or something. They're limited to only a couple potential columns that you can create, which helps keep your page more organized and keeps everything in more of a linear flow. But if you wanted to go down to a new line without creating a new block, you can do that too by holding down Shift while you press Enter. So just hitting Enter at the end of the line makes a new block. Shift Enter creates a second line within the same block, and you can see that I can drag these around together now. So great, we have text, but there's a lot more that we can do with a page besides just text. There's many different types of blocks, and if you press the slash key, the /, it'll pull up this little menu of all the different types of blocks that we have in Notion. So I'm not going to go through every single block, but to just start with some of the basics, we have to-do list, which is kind of like, I don't know, a weird thing for them to call it. It's like a bullet point, but with a checkbox that you can tick instead of do laundry. It's just like a tickable checkbox instead of just a bullet point or whatever. But it's basically just a line of text. And if you check the box, it automatically grays out and strikes through the text associated with it. You can also, all of these blocks you can create by typing, so if you type the / and then you just start typing to do, or just the word to, really, it'll go to that one in the list and you can just hit enter to get it. And you can also create some of them with other text shortcuts, like for the checkbox, if you type a open square bracket and then a close square bracket and then hit space, it'll automatically turn that into a checkbox. And if you wanted to start a sentence with an open and closed bracket and don't want the checkbox, you can do Control Z or whatever your undo shortcut is on your operating system, and it will take that little box back away. Okay, so yeah, just to keep running through some more examples here, we have headings. Headings are really useful for keeping your page organized. We have 3 levels of heading here. So this is heading 1. If you type H2, it'll go to heading 2, a little bit smaller, and then /H3 will get you heading 3, which is smaller still, but, you know, still bigger than your regular line of text. And related to headings, we have a special block called a table of contents. It's under the advanced blocks here, but this is one of the reasons headings are useful. You can auto-generate this table of contents that will, it'll go based on, and you can move this table of contents up to the top of the page where it's actually useful, probably. It'll create an outline based on the order of headings in your page, and it will make them links. If this were a longer page, clicking on these links would scroll us down the page to where that block is. So that's one reason you might want to use headings, but also just visually, they can be nice for you know, just organizing your page in a hierarchical way. After the headings, I'm going to skip the table for now. We have bulleted list. I use this all the time. It's probably like my most used type of block in Notion, even more so than plain text blocks. It's just, you know, regular bullet point. When you hit enter, it'll automatically create the next one as another bullet point, which is super handy, but you can just hit backspace if you don't want that. And the shortcut to create a bullet point is to type a hyphen and then hit space. Or I believe it also works with asterisk and then space. Moving on, we've also got a numbered list. So, you know, you can go 1, 2, 3, and it'll show you the numbers, and if you drag these to reorder them, then it will automatically adjust the numbering for you. And if you type like 1 period, does it? Oh, it doesn't automatically do that. Okay, I actually really like that because, you know, a lot of times I just want to start something with like 1, this, and I don't want it to function as a numbered list. I just want it to be a regular sentence. So I'm actually glad that that's not a shortcut that they have. But if you wanted to create a number list quickly, you can just type /num and it'll pull that up. After that, we have toggle list, which is also one of my favorites in Notion. So you can have topic, and then it has this little arrow on the side. Click the arrow so that it points downward, and then you can either, or you can, when you're in the main line next to the arrow, you can hit Control Enter to open it, and then hit Enter to jump down inside the toggle, and you can put the details, and you can have lots of info, lots of different block types. You can put whatever you want here inside this toggle, and then you click the triangle again and it closes it all up to hide it, which is just so useful for keeping your pages organized, especially if you have a page with a lot of information but you don't need all of it at the same time. If it's like, I don't know, like a vocabulary list, you can make each vocabulary, that's not a great example because definitions are usually short, but like if you have like, I don't know, notes for like a whole chapter of a book, and each like subsection of the chapter you can make a toggle list for, and then put all the notes for that section inside the toggle and hide it, and then you can just like quickly scroll through your page through all the closed toggles until you get to the section that you need to know about right now, and you can open it to see all those notes again. Yeah, I use these a lot just to keep my pages really tidy and prevent having too much information coming at me all at once. We've also got dividers, which you can also create just by typing dash dash dash. These can also be useful for keeping your page organized. We've got quotes, which is, it just creates this bar on the side of it that just makes it look a little bit different from the surrounding text. Here I'm just using Shift-Enter to, you know, extend this line down. But if you had something, if you had a really long sentence that wrapped all the way around, then it would also extend the line down. But if you just hit regular enter, it'll exit the block and create a new block that's non-quote. We can talk about tables now. A table is, you know, it's what it says, just you can, it's not a very advanced like spreadsheet tool or anything. It's just for visually organizing information into a little table. But you can use tab to navigate through it, and I believe you can, yeah, you can use these handles to rearrange the columns and the rows, which is pretty handy. It also, there's a way to convert it into what's called a Notion database that we'll talk about later, which is a much more powerful, like, spreadsheet type of table. But for now, this block is more focused on just visually organizing information. So these are the, oh, we also have one more basic block called a callout, which just creates this colored box around a line of text. You can be like, this is important, or just make something look visually set off differently compared to the rest of the text around it. And it will have a little icon here that you can change to whatever emoji you want. And you can change the color if you get a menu for any block. You can click on the 6-dot handle to pull up a menu, and this is true for any block. You can change the color either of the text or you can change the color of the background. You can't set a text color and a background color at the same time. It's one or the other. But that's especially useful for these call-out blocks, I think, to make the background color, whatever you'll notice easily. So those are what's called the basic blocks, but we have more blocks too. We have this whole category of blocks for media or embeds. So you can embed an image. Either you can upload it from your computer, embed a URL, or you can search images from Unsplash, which is a website of just like free photos that you can use for anything. So you can just like search for any kind of picture that you want to include and just select it and it'll be inserted into your page, which is really handy sometimes. You can embed a URL. I believe it's /link to put in link to page. Whoops. Oh, sorry. /link to page is for linking to another page within your Notion space. So that's one of the most valuable features of Notion, is creating links between your different Notion pages. So usually the way I do this is with a shortcut. It uses like Wikipedia link formatting, so you can type 2 open brackets, and then it'll pull up a list of your pages that you used recently, but you can also do open bracket, and just start typing anything, and it will pull up all of your pages with titles that contain that word, and you can just click on the page you want to link to, and it inserts this link to another page of your Notion workspace, so you can really easily connect information in that way. And you can also have a sub-page that lives within another page. I'll talk a little bit about this like hierarchical structure more in a moment, but yeah, you can just press the plus symbol and then just start typing the name of a page that you want to create, and the first suggestion it'll give you is to create a sub-page, and that will live within the page that you're currently looking at, and you can click on it to go and edit your new page. There's also sorry, I'll talk about that in the next segment that I get to. So the other thing I was starting to say when I got distracted by the like in Notion links is embedding a URL. So let's just grab the URL from the official Notion website. I'm going to delete this page that I just created. You can click on the dot menu and it has a section here, or a button here to just delete it. And by the way, Notion uses a trash can, so anything you delete, you can go to your trash can and find it and restore it if you need to. So, I just copied the URL for the Notion product page. I'm going to just do a Control-V and just paste that URL into Notion, and it automatically pops up this menu to dismiss, which means do nothing, just leave it as a regular link. Or you can turn it into a special block, a bookmark, which looks like this. It's just like a short section that shows the title and a little preview image of the web page that you pasted. Or you can do create embed, which actually I forgot. For web links, an embed is exactly the same as a bookmark. Um, but if you had pasted in the URL of like a YouTube video, the embed would actually embed a video player directly into your web page. And you can do /embed to get this little interface where you can paste in a link, or you can also upload any kind of file from your computer and embed it. And a lot of files, like images, of course, but also PDFs and I think audio files, will actually, you'll be able to view them or play them directly inside of Notion. Unfortunately, the maximum file size is 5 megabytes, so that will limit you to fairly small, like PDFs and audio and stuff like that, unless you pay for like a more advanced subscription. Oh, I should mention, by the way, the like pricing model for Notion. Everything I do on Notion, I only use the free plan. So all of this stuff that I'm going to be showing you today, you can do completely for free. They used to have a limit on the size of your workspace on the free plan, but they removed that limit. So you can have as many pages as you want. The only limits are on the size of files that you can upload. And yeah, they have paid plans that have like more advanced features, and the paid plans are more for people who are collaborating with others through Notion. But if you're just using it by yourself for like personal organizing, then the free plan is like more than enough, in my opinion. And it's not a free trial, it's free forever. So let me just real quick look through this list and see if there's any more types of blocks that we need to talk about. They have all this AI stuff that they're kind of pushing on people, but the AI stuff does cost money, so I'm not going to be using any of the AI features. I am not going to be able to explain those features to you. They seem cool if you want to pay for it, but I don't, so I don't really know what it's about. Yeah, okay, you can embed, LaTeX, if you need to put, like, math or something in your page. You can create synced blocks, which are really cool. You can show the same block on different pages, and when you update it in one place, it automatically updates in all the other places, which is also really handy. You can add code, and you can use at mentions if, like, to mention another user who might be in your Notion workspace if you're on a paid plan with multiple users. You can also use the at symbol before a date to create like an interactive date element. And yeah, here's just some of the things that you can embed that have like a rich embed feature. Google Drive, so you can actually see your files from Google Drive within Notion. Tweets, GitHub stuff, Google Maps, all kinds of different websites. You can even embed Replit now? I didn't know. That's new to me. Okay, that's cool. You can have Slack links or notifications inside Notion. I didn't know that either. They're adding new ones all the time. Yeah, so there's a ton of different things that you can embed into here. But that'll do it for, you know, the basic page creation. Now let's go back from my test page to my workshop overview. And let's talk about the Notion UI. Actually, just let me check real quick. Are there any questions that anyone has had so far about the block types or just basic like text editing in Notion? Okay. Um, so let's talk about the UI. I'm going to click this menu button here to unhide my sidebar, which I had hidden a moment ago to make this page look cleaner. Um, Let me also zoom in a little bit. Let's see, that probably looks okay. So at the top of our Notion window, we have what's called the breadcrumb. And this is actually I'll go to the test page again to show it better. You might have noticed just now it said Digital Garden / Notion Workshop. Then when I clicked test page, it added that to the heading here. So it's called the breadcrumb because it's like the trail of breadcrumbs that shows you where you came from. It'll always show you on the far right the name of the page you're currently on, but then it shows you where that page is located within your hierarchy of pages. Because in Notion, every page, it can either be a top level page that just lives in your sidebar, just like it just like is the biggest category, or a page can be nested inside of another page. And I would say generally most of your pages, if you want to keep your workspace organized, most of your pages should live inside of another page. Um, so this heading shows you, yeah, you can click, I can click Notion Workshop here to go back to the parent of the test page, and I can click Vay's Digital Garden to go back to the parent of all of those pages. This is the top level page that all these other ones that we've been looking at lived inside of. And when we say that it lives inside of a certain page, that means that, like, uh, this page, Notion Workshop, is a block that's visually, that you can see on the Digital Garden page. So, we've also, probably should have started with this actually, most important thing is this sidebar. And don't get distracted by this favorites section. Oh, wait, you can click to hide it. That's new. Okay, so great. We're not getting distracted by it. Um, we have at the top, it'll tell you the name of your workspace, and if you have more than one account, or if you have, this is saying, this was my therapist's Notion because she shared a page with me. So if anyone else shares a page with you, um, you can, in order to access that shared page, you'll see that other person's Notion listed here under your accounts, basically. But if you had more than one Notion account, like one for work versus one for personal, then this is where you would switch between accounts. And it has this little arrow button you can use to hide the sidebar, make your page look cleaner. Next here we have a search where you can, just type in either text content of a page or the title of a page. It'll find it either way. And when you don't type in anything, by default, it'll show you the pages that you've edited most recently at the top of the list here. Updates is for notifications that you can set for yourself within Notion. So if you have something with a date attached to it, you can add a reminder on that date and it'll appear in updates. But also, this update section is used for when you have multi-user workspaces and it's like so and so commented on this, or like somebody else edited your page or whatever. But since I'm a single user workspace, updates only gets used for the reminders for me. We have settings and members here. So, you know, when they say members, you can use it to add people to your workspace, which I think, again, you need to have a paid account to add members. You can also add a few guests to your workspace for free, though. And if anyone's interested in knowing more about the details of like members versus guests and how to share pages, let me know and I can talk more about that. But, just all the usual account settings, notification settings, that all lives in here. And you have settings specific to your workspace, which is, like your set of notes is called your workspace. So if you're on a paid plan, I think you can have more than one workspace, aka more than one self-contained set of notes that you can switch between. So that's why they have settings unique to like the workspace as opposed to for your like user account in here. And then we have this new page button, which I never use. Like, you'll use it when you're very first starting out, I guess, when you don't have anything in your workspace yet. But it creates a new top level page, but I'm always creating sub pages of other pages instead. So I like never use this button. So when you start out, your favorites section won't have anything in it, but you can use this to pin certain pages that you use frequently so that they're easy to access. You can see I have a lot of pinned pages here. At the top is what I call favorites 2, which is just like a page that lists a lot of these things so that I don't, like, in case I accidentally remove them from my favorites list or whatever. But yeah, just like the pages I use all the time, I have, or things I don't want to forget, I have pinned to my favorites. You can add any page to your favorites by clicking this star button at the top right, or you just click it again to unfavorite it. So I'm changing out my favorites frequently also, just like something that I'm working on today and I think I'm going to work on again tomorrow, I'll just add it to my favorites, and then I'll remove it when I'm done working on it. But your pages, when you start creating your first new page, they will be listed. You probably won't have anything under shared to start with. They'll be listed under this heading called private, and this is just your list of top level pages. You can see here I only have 3 top level, well, okay, I have 5 top level pages because some of them are shared. Data is my main thingy. It's shared with just like an alternate account that I use just as a backup of my Notion account, just in case something goes wrong. So all my main pages are in just one overall heading page called Data. House of Beans is a special shared page that me and my roommate use together. Digital Garden and Noting in Public are my collections of public pages. And then Clone Zone is where you can duplicate other people's Notion pages and Notion templates. So Clone Zone is just where I collect all of the pages that I didn't create myself, just like other people's templates that I want to hold on to for later. That's how I organize my workspace. So basically everything is a page underneath this one called Data, and even then I only have about 7 like second level pages under Data, and everything is, most of them are inside what I call my master index database, but we'll get to that. My point was just that it's recommended that you usually create pages within other pages rather than using this new page button. But this shows you your top level pages, and you can click the little arrows on the side in order to see what pages live inside of them, and you can do this for many levels of indentation. So that's how you find your pages, but in practice, I would say once your workspace starts getting bigger, you'll usually find pages just by searching for the name of the page instead. Or if you know like what section it's in your hierarchy, then you do that. So yeah, all of that is the sidebar. We also, I don't know what a TeamSpace is, it's a paid thing. Templates, we have this really big collection of official Notion templates that you can just browse in here and start using on your, you just click get template and it'll add it to your workspace. And then you can edit the template however you want, very handy. You can import data from other apps like Asana, Word, Evernote. You can import just batches of text files. And it will try to automatically create Notion pages out of the thing you imported. In my experience, I tried to import from Evernote, and when I tried to do it a year ago, it was very buggy, and it can only import like very plain pages without embeds or anything, so I don't really use the import function, but it's there. So that covers the sidebar and the account settings, but we also have the rest of this little top bar. We have settings to share an individual page or publish it online. So you can see here, this page is live on czmt.notion.site. That means that, we can actually open this in a new tab, and it creates a non-editable, read-only version of your page that you can share this URL with anybody, and everyone can view it. So I did that for this workshop page so that I can, actually I'll share that right now, so I can grab the URL, share that with you all if you wanted to see the outline of the talk later. Oh, I just noticed, Morgan, this definitely looks interesting. Kind of wondering if it'll be compatible with my laptop or if it's a phone-only program. Oh, yeah, so I'm sorry I didn't notice that comment, like, at the moment when it came in, so I'm not sure if you're still here, but, Notion is completely browser-based, so, well, not completely. Is my camera? Oh, sorry. So there is, the version of Notion that I use all the time, even when I'm on Windows, is just the browser version. So I use it on Ubuntu all the time, actually. Thank you for asking that. It's also really exciting to just see another Ubuntu user out here in the wild. Yeah, I suppose it's not the most convenient thing for... I only have one monitor right now, so it's hard for me to be in here working in Notion and also be looking at the chat at the same time. I should probably open it on my phone. Okay. Hopefully now I will be able to see chat messages if they come in. That was silly of me to not think of. Anyway, we've got the share settings here, which you can use to make your page viewable. You have comments. You can leave comments on a page if you're working with like multiple people. You can see updates related to like other people changing the page. So every time you edit something about the page, it'll show up in this updates thing. This, like I said before, is to add to your favorites. And then here are the page settings. So we have a couple fun things here. You can change it to a serif or a monospace font instead of a regular sans serif. You don't have settings in Notion to like directly change the font of individual blocks of text or anything. You can only set the font on the whole page level, which is a little annoying, but you know. You can make the text smaller for the page. You can make the page wider. There's this turn into wiki setting, which is kind of new, and personally, I don't actually understand yet what it does. It's meant more for multi-user workspaces. But we also have undo and page history if you make mistakes, which I needed to use recently because I accidentally like deleted my whole page. And like Control Z wasn't fixing it, so I needed to go into the page history here to recover it. And that's a very cool feature that they have. You can export your page to some other different formats. And as I was just mentioning, the browser versus like Windows versions, if you're on a Windows computer, you'll have this button to open in Windows app if you have it installed while you're looking at the browser version. I honestly find that the browser version usually runs smoother for me, so I only use the browser version. But when I'm on my phone, I use the mobile app, because that does, that's a lot more optimized for phones. Oh my god, Morgan, I feel you so much with the weird compatibility issues with Linux. Yeah, I'm trying to be a programmer, but I'm not very good with like all the details of operating systems at this point, so I feel you. The compatibility issues are a big headache, but man, open source sure is nice, isn't it? So that should be pretty much everything about the UI. Yeah, if you're looking for a setting that's related to your account or your workspace overall, it'll be in the sidebar menu. And if you're looking for a setting related to just this individual page, it'll be in this menu on the top right. So let's talk now about pages, databases, and blocks. We've already seen pages and blocks, but we also have a new, a different kind of page. It's not really a kind of page. So, like I have written here, every screen in Notion is either a page or a database. And what database do I want to show you? Okay, so, by the way, this is my, like, daily overview page. It looks a little weird because I have my zoom set high, but, here's a database that I call my 2024 dailies, And you can see what we mean by database better when I put it into its table format. So a database is like a box of pages. Each line in this table is a different page that lives within this database called 2024 Dailies, and each page in the database is also part of this spreadsheet, so it has all these different properties like bedtime and date and sleep. But you can click on the individual page and open it, and the body of it looks just like any other Notion page. It's made up of all the same blocks inside the body, but it has this extra section at the top for all the properties. And you can set all these different kinds of properties to add extra information about the page. And then when you go back to the database view, you can kind of see that data in aggregate, and you can sort or filter based on those properties that you set. We'll talk more about the details of databases in a minute. But yeah, so basically this was the thing that threw me off for a really long time when I started using Notion. It was the difference between a page and a database. But they're not interchangeable. A database is not really a type of page. A database can live inside a page, and a page can live inside a database. But they're just two different types of content. So, as we already saw, a page is made up of blocks. Every piece of content inside of a page is going to be a block of some type, even if it's just a regular text block. And then pages can be nested inside of other pages, and you can form a hierarchy that way that you could, like we could see in the favorites here or whatever, or well, let's look at House of Beans. When I open up this toggle for my page called House of Beans, it shows me the name of all the pages that are inside of there. And if I open this one called Reference, it shows me this other page that's inside of Reference. So that's what I mean by a hierarchy of pages. And then, yeah, each item in a database is also itself a page and like has a page body. It has all of the settings associated with a page. But pages in databases also have properties, and pages outside of databases don't have any properties. There's no way to attach properties to a regular page without putting it into a database. The properties are like a characteristic of the database more so than a characteristic of the page. So let's get more into databases. I'm going to make a to-do list database as an example, and we're going to add pages, add properties, add new views, filter and sort, and this is taking a little bit longer than I anticipated taking to explain things, so we might not talk about database templates, but then after we make our database, we'll go into other pages to create linked views of it. So I'm going to use the plus sign here to start creating a new thing. And you can actually, no, that doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. I'm going to type /database, and you can choose either inline or full page. It doesn't really matter what you choose because you can convert between them later, but If you choose full page, it'll just put a link to the database inside our Notion Workshop page. Whereas if you choose inline, it'll show the full like spreadsheet right here within this workshop page. I don't want that right now. I want the database to be here on a new page. So it automatically took us to yeah, I created the thing and it took us to a new page just for this database. And you might notice I started typing new to-do list and then changed it to new to-do database. And that's because I don't want to give you the idea that you'll create a new database every time you're making like a new to-do list for the new week or whatever. You probably only want to have one permanent to-do list database, and you'll just add and remove things from the database as it goes on. Because you would have to recreate all of the properties and the filters and sorting and stuff like that every time you created a new database. If you were going to like keep making new ones each time you're making a to-do list. So yeah, don't think of a database as like an individual list that's like disposable. It's something that you're kind of like investing your time into setting up. So think of it as part of the like structure of your Notion workspace. I'm just calling it new to-do database because I already have other to-do databases in my Notion workspace and I don't want to get them mixed up. Actually, let's just call it example. Okay, none of this matters what I name things. It's fine. So by default, it'll show you a table view, and you can start adding things to it. So do laundry, walk the dog. I don't have a dog. Take meds. It also, by default, gives you this property called tags, but, you know what, fine, I was gonna say I don't need it, so I'll delete it, which I would have done with this delete button right here, but, like, that's fine, let's use some tags. So, household, self-care, once, how do I explain this? Okay, so the properties can be different types. The type is indicated by what icon you see here, except that now you can change the icons to anything you want, so I take that back. I'm sorry, I'm not making much sense right now. So I'll click on Edit Property, and here it shows you Type, Multi-Select. So there are many different types of property, just like there are many different types of block. It can be plain text, it can be a number. Select means it has an existing set of options. You know, no, I shouldn't. It'll be easier if I start with just a text property. So a text property is just, you could put like details, and you can just write any text that you want in here. So my details for doing laundry is like, don't forget bleach. And it doesn't affect any other blocks. It's just like any notes or something that you want to add to your thing. And tags is different because it's called a multi-select, and in that case, any text that you add to it becomes an option that's available for every other database item in this same database. So it's useful for cases like tags where you want to apply the same exact text to several different things in your database. So shower is also going to have the tag self-care, so I can just quickly click there and apply that tag to it instead of having to type it out again. And then, oops, Oh, please, please listen to my clicks. Oh, is it because I had this? Okay, the page is not responding right now. I'm gonna refresh my page. Alright, let's try this again. So, I'll click the plus button here to add a new property. And adding a property will always add that property to every page in your entire database. You can't have properties that are like only on one page. It's a spreadsheet basically. It has to be a square. All the properties have to apply to every single page. Although if you have certain pages where the property is not relevant, like I didn't have any tags to apply to walk the dog here, you can just leave it blank. It'll still have that property when you look at the page, but it can just be blank. So let's just talk about a couple of these other ones. You can have a date as a property, and it will show you a full like date picker. So this could be like the date that you want to do your task on or whatever, and you have a calendar that you can pick from, and you can even click this remind button to have Notion remind you on a certain date to do your task or that your thing is due or something like that. We have a status, which is a really convenient way to, it's similar to a multi-select, but it's specifically for tracking whether your thing is like to do, in progress, or done. And it has some special features that make it easier for tracking the status like that. You can have a person to select other users from your Notion workspace. You can attach files. You can have a checkbox property that just checks. You can just like use that to mark whether something is either done or not in a quicker way than the status property. You can add URLs, emails, phone numbers. We have a special property called a formula, which is similar to like formulas in an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. You can combine information from the other properties in your database, and you can calculate information from them. It's not 100% as powerful as formulas in a dedicated spreadsheet software like Excel, but it can do more than you would think. Or at least, for me, that was my experience. I was surprised by how much you can really do with it. I'll show you some examples later, and I'll show you a place where I'm using a formula, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. Relations and rollups are also two super powerful special properties that I will talk about a little bit later. But let me try adding some more. We'll pretend this is like the due date or something for our different things, even though some of them are just like shower, and that doesn't have a single due date. But you know, let's pretend this is some kind of to-do list that has due dates. So we can sort things. You can select one of your properties that you want to sort from. I'll say date, and then you can pick ascending or descending, and that will rearrange your list of pages in your database and put them in order based on that date. And then we have filters, where you can again select a property you want to filter by. This is where select and multi-selects are really, really useful for filtering. So I'll select tags, and we can check off self-care. We only want to look at tasks that have the tag self-care, and there we go, it hides all the other ones. So this is like incredibly useful for me for to-do lists, because a lot of times, you know, like I can't, if I tag things based on like what context I need to be in order to do them, then I can, when I'm like, home and ready to like do household things, I can look at just my to-dos that are associated with like being at home, versus when I have the energy to go out, I can look at just my to-dos that are associated with like errands I have to run out for. So it really helps me find like the right thing to do at the right time and not have to visually scan through a huge overwhelming list of like all the to-dos ever. But I can still have all the to-dos ever safely stored inside my Notion so that I don't need to try to remember them all. Okay, let's go back to so we have what's called, oh, I forgot to show you the different views. Okay. So databases, it's good to think of a database like a table or a spreadsheet like by default. I'm going to reset my filters here to show everything. But there are actually like 5 different views that you can apply to a database. So I'm going to click this plus sign next to table here to create a new view. And we can have a board, which is like Trello, a Kanban board. You can have a timeline, which is used for things that have both a start and an end date. It'll show you like the duration of a certain task or project or whatever. You can put them on a calendar, which is also really great for a to-do list. If you're scheduling things that you want to do on a certain day, you can view a calendar and see what you have planned for trying to do that day. There's a list, which is like a simpler, it's like kind of like a simpler version of a table or whatever. It just shows all your pages in a list with only a couple, like it can categorize them by a certain property or whatever, but it doesn't show all the properties. It's a visually simpler kind of equivalent of a table. And then there's a really fun one called Gallery, which is great for when you add pictures to pages. It'll show you a preview of pictures that are inside your page, so you can scan through something more visually, but it's, of course, like better for shorter lists. Not shorter lists, smaller databases, that's what I mean. So you can have as many views as you want of the same database. So let's create a board, and I'll name it board. You can name it whatever you want. Views can also have their own filters and sorts associated with them. So I'm actually going to call this, instead of just calling it board, I'm going to call this sure, I'll call this self-care, and I will scroll down to done and create the new view, and then I'm going to filter this new view to show only the self-care tasks. After you add a filter, you need to click save for everyone if you want it to be like permanent. So now I can switch to my table that shows like everything, or my self-care view that shows only the self-care tasks for when that's all that I want to think about right now. And now I'm going to go back to my workshop page, and I'm going to embed this database that we just created into this page, but it's not going to be, this block here that says example to-do database, that's the database itself. That's where the database lives, but let's actually, it'll be easier to explain if I go to a different page. Let's go to test page again, and I'm going to embed what's called a linked view. So I'll type linked there, linked view of database, to embed a kind of like a, well, it's not a copy, it's a view. It's another like window through which you can view the same database, but it doesn't actually live inside this test page. It's just like a preview that we're putting in this test page of a database that lives elsewhere. So I'll select the database that I want. The ones you edited recently will be automatically at the top of the list, and then I can select which view I want to include. So I'll include just the self-care view. And then I can close out of the options, and you can see this is my test page, but down at the bottom here it has the view of our new database that we just made visible inside here. And you can edit it. Showering instead of just shower or something. You can edit the content of that database from within another page. So one way this is useful is to make different views that apply to like different parts of your life, and then embed the view into another Notion page that's related to that part of your life. We're about an hour in now, and I'm also out of water, so this is a good time for a quick bio break. I will be right back. Also, pardon my extremely messy room that you will now see from behind me. Okay, and I am back. I hope that folks maybe took a moment to get up and stretch or something, because that's always a nice idea. So, that's databases. I'm gonna show you some examples of formulas and relations and roll-ups or as a way to explain them, rather than just creating new ones from scratch. And yeah, it's a more advanced topic that would maybe like not normally be covered in an intro to Notion, but I think it's like relations and roll-ups are really the thing that makes Notion so powerful as an organizing tool. Excuse me. Yeah, like this is the reason that I use Notion instead of like any of the other note taking or like task tracking apps that I could be using that are maybe better in other ways. Like relations and rollups are really the power horse, or is that powerhouse? Something horse? I think I'm mixing workhorse and powerhouse. There we go. Um anyway, they are the special thing about Notion. So I'm going to try to talk about them a little bit. Let's look at okay, now I'm going to jump ahead a little bit to templates and talk about the so Notion has a really good template for project and to-do tracking. So I'm going to go to the templates menu here from the sidebar, and right here, projects and tasks. It's right now it's at the top of their suggested list, sort of, but you could just type projects into the search bar if you don't see it here. I'm going to click Get Template, and it will automatically create this whole new page. Where's my breadcrumb? Oh, there is no breadcrumb because it created it as a top level page. That's fine for right now. It creates two new top level pages, tasks and projects. And these two pages have views of two different databases. When you open up tasks and projects here, wait, I'm sorry, are these, tasks and projects are not pages, they are databases themselves. Tasks is a database, projects is a database. That's the two things that are created when you activate the template. So these are two related databases. And let's go back to tasks. Let's click on, this also has, these little arrows are because there are subtasks in this list, which is, it's kind of like nesting a page into another page. It's just, you can connect two pages of the same database as like a sub item of each other, but it's a little complicated. Let's just click one of these pages, and let's see. So I'll open a full view of this page, and I'll hide my sidebar. So, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, for any of your pages, database or not, you can add a cover image to the page. It'll pick a random one when you hit add cover, and then you can hit change cover to either pick one from their gallery, upload your own image, link to your own image, or pick one from Unsplash. That's just a fun little thing that can help you visually keep your pages, like, you know, just help you know what page you're on more quickly. And you can, for the same reason, you can also set an emoji or icon for each page. And you can just click the icon there to change that. So, where is the relation property? Oh, it's down here. Okay. Right. So I was trying to say, this section up here, everything on the screen right now, this is the properties. And everything below, add a comment here, this all is the body of the page. This is the regular, like, page blocks and everything down here. So we're going to ignore that for now, because we don't care about what this actual page is. This is just an example page that gets created automatically by the template. We have tasks here. If you click the thing, this will, if you go into edit property, you can see that its type is relation. So tasks is a type of property called a relation, and it lets us connect from this. You can see it from the breadcrumb. We're in the projects database right now. We have sample project user education, but one of the properties of this project is tasks, to mark the tasks that we have to do to complete this project. And these things, if you click on this, if you click open, you can see that so I clicked open to go into this page from that was listed in the relation property. Now I'm going to open in full page. And you can see review research results lives inside the tasks database. So this is a page from a different database that is contained within a property of the project. And basically the idea of a relation is that you can link from a page from one database to a page from another. So right now we have two linked pages that are the two tasks associated with this project. But we can click the little search icon here to search through any of the other pages that we've created as a task and link them here to say that this task belongs to this project. And then when we go back to our tasks page, you can see that the default organizing method, the default view for this template is filtering your tasks by project. So sample project user education, it shows us those two linked pages which are from a different database. Or I'm sorry, no, they're not. These are the two pages of this tasks database that we're looking at, but they're filtered based on a different database. And the reason this is more useful than just creating a tag on the tasks database for what project it is because it's like bi-directional. On the tasks page, we can filter by the project, but then if we're like, well, I want to look at all the information about my project and also know what the tasks associated with it are while I'm looking at that project, then we can go back to where we were on the project page and we can see those same tasks listed here in that other context. So it's really like the powerful thing about relations is being able to take the same information and show it in different contexts depending on what you need at the time. So this template, the projects and tasks template, has a relation by default, but we can actually add a property here. We can add our own relation anytime. We can add a relation to any database at all. So I want this project to be related to my example to do database. I want to associate tasks from my other task list with this project instead of just the task list that Notion created for me. So yeah, we click add property, select relation as the type, and then it gave us a pop-up to select which database we wanted, where you could have just typed in the name of whatever database you wanted to find from anywhere in your workspace. We have this button to choose whether to create a property on the other database at the same time that matches it, whether to make it like a bi-directional link that's a property of both databases or just a property of the database that we're in right now. I think it tends to be useful to select this and have so our task database will now also have a property called projects that will show you when you look at the task what project is it related to. And if you leave it blank, it'll just use the name of the database as the default. So let's add relation. And now we can select here. It'll show us all of our things that we've entered so far in the example to-do database. So let's say that doing laundry is part of this project, for whatever reason. We can now, if we go back to, we can see here in this page we have sample project. It now has a clickable link to the do laundry task in here. And if we go back to projects, if we look at all, yes, this is what, okay. When you add new properties, they don't show up on your table by default. So you may need to click this 3-dot menu above the table and go down to hidden in table and click the I to unhide it. So now when we're looking at the table view of our database, we can see sample project, user education, and we can see since I turned on this column, we can see what tasks from our example database it's linked to. And I can click to go to the do laundry page. And if I go back to example to do database and look at the table, again, I will need to, oh no, this time it automatically added it. Okay, I don't know what makes it add new columns sometimes and sometimes hide them. But when I'm looking at my to-do list database here, I can see right here what project it's attached to just by, I didn't need to edit the to-do database in order to make this appear. Just by adding it when I was looking at the project page, it automatically added the information in here as well because I selected that bi-directional link. And then the last type of property that we're going to talk about is a roll-up, which is, it's based on a relation. It gets information from a separate database, but instead of just being the name of the page, it pulls in properties of the other pages. So we'll select the relation to projects, and you can select which property from projects you want to show. So let's say status. We want to see the status of the project that this task is associated with. And now it shows up here under, we just named our roll-up, but whatever. It shows planning, which doesn't mean that this task is in planning. It means that this project we associated with it is in planning. We can change that property to summary, and it'll show us the whole summary of the project, which is a property of this other database. And we can also calculate things. So if we had actually, let's go back to the project page. This will make more sense if we add a roll up here. We have to pick which relation we're talking about. So we want a roll up that pulls in information from example to do database. And this time we're going to count all, and for counting it doesn't usually matter what property, we're just going to pick name. So, well, let's just start with the default show original. Let's see what that would look like. So, example to do database, we have do laundry. That's the name of the page attached. Let's also add showering. Those are our two to-do list items that we linked to this project. So the roll-up right now is just showing the name. It's just doing the same thing as the relation itself. So we can edit it to, instead of showing the name, to show the tags. And alternatively, let's put it back to name, and we can calculate a count. So this is now telling us how many tasks from my to-do list are related to this project. And the counting can be really useful if it's something like, never mind, I can't think of any examples right now, but there are times when it's more useful than this to know, like, how many pages did I attach to this project or whatever. You could use in a formula to say, if you knew that you wanted to, if your project was like, do this 10 times, then you could connect the pages for, like, if each page represented a time that you did something, you could use a formula to compare, like, the roll-up to count how many times you did it, and a formula to check, did I do it 10 times yet, and show you your progress. So that's pretty much everything that I wanted to go over. Let's go back to my workshop page. I want to just show you some examples from how I use Notion. So first I'm going to show you, this is my story hub for a book that I'm writing. And this is more of an example of what you can do with the body of a page. So this is, you know, a more like fancy, complicated page layout. You'll see stuff like this a lot on like Pinterest, if you search for Notion on Pinterest or like Instagram, where people make these really fancy layouts like this. This layout is actually a template that I got from somewhere that I just edited to put my own information in. But you can have really like complicated layouts like this if you have a lot of information that you want to show all together at the same time. You can add images and columns and like dividers and make things look really nice if you want to. This is a dashboard. PPV is a system called Pillars, Pipelines, and Vaults. That's like a data organization system that this guy on YouTube came up with. That's specifically designed for Notion. I definitely recommend researching it if you're interested in more like rigorous ways to structure your information. I've been trying to implement it. I'm not done yet, but this is kind of so a dashboard is a word people will use in the Notion community for a page that basically is a bunch of links to other pages or like linked views of databases. It's kind of, it doesn't have much like original content itself. It's just like a portal that you use to get to other parts of your workspace and to organize like links to information that's in other areas and pull things together from different parts. So this dashboard has links to my system that I use for tracking my tasks, which I'll show you in a second. And then it also has links to these different, what the system calls pillars or areas of my life, which is what's in this section. And I have pages about each different like area that I want to focus on in my life. We can actually see them in my alignment zone, which is where this pillars, pipelines, and vaults system like what they call it for the way that you. Never mind. I don't need to explain the system. I just wanted to show you some of the like databases and stuff inside this page. So this is an example of a gallery database. Each of these boxes is a page inside of a database called Pillars, and the gallery card for each one is showing this is a relation to a database called Values, where I'm showing which of my values are connected to each one of my life pillars. I'm showing that as a preview on the little cards here in the gallery. So galleries are nice for something that's like a small set of pages that you want to, you know, stand out more. And this PPV action zone is my task tracking system. So this is not the database itself. This is another dashboard, sort of, that's all just different linked views into my my database of to-do list things. And I can, let me show database title. Quest log is what I call my to-do list, and I can click on that to see I have lots of different, I have 10 different views of this task that 10 different views of this database that I've created that all show information in different contexts. Here's a Kanban where I can move things, I can drag things to move them between whether it's a future task ready to work on, in progress, or done. And yeah, you can just like click and drag on these cards to move them between stages. And you can also, if I wanted to, I could, it doesn't have to be grouped by status. It could also be grouped by any kind of multi-select property. So I could group it by, oh, not just multi-selects, you can group it by anything, yeah. I have a property for how high impact each of my tasks is, so I can instead group, I can create a board that groups it that way. Did that, oh, I think that automatically saved. I didn't want to save that. When you filter and sort, it doesn't automatically save. You can undo it, but when you edit the grouping, I guess that does automatically save. Okay, let's go back to grouping by status. So this is my database, which I have all these different views of, but to view it in an even more, like, not refined, like, refined in the sense of refined sugar, like, to put even more processing around the way that you view it. I have my dashboard called the Action Zone, and it shows, I have different toggles. So again, this is a way that I use toggles to keep my pages tidy. If I want to just view the tasks that are ready to be done, I open this toggle, and it includes only views that are filtered to show just tasks ready to be done. And alternatively, if I want to view tasks that are scheduled for, well, it says today. This is actually anything scheduled for today or the past, so everything overdue or scheduled for today. I have a lot of overdue tasks. It shows just that section, And here I have one that shows things that are due tomorrow. They're all hidden within these toggles. And down here I have my calendar view of the tasks that I scheduled to do on certain days. And then I also keep just a overview of my projects database here, where I can, just when I'm looking at my tasks for the day, also remind myself of what projects I have in progress right now. And just one more like practical use case to share with folks, because I know if my prototype friends are watching right now, I know a couple of you, when I mentioned this, said you were interested in my therapy database. So this is one of the things, like one of the pages that I've worked on a lot. I have like I have a database of all the different topics that I work on in therapy, and then a database of I'm not going to open this one. I have a database of all my like journal entries when I journal about therapy topics, and I have a relation from each topic to like the days that I talked about it, or the messages that I sent related to it. I have my database of skills that I use, and this database it has filters or tags, so I can filter it by what type of skill it is, and it has a relation to my daily pages, so I can record which skills I used each day. And this is again a page that I have. I spent time making the colors all pretty, and I have links to the different sections so I can navigate it quickly when the toggles are open, because the page gets very long. And at the top I have, these are all sub pages of different, things related to therapy that I wanted to, it's like enough of its own topic that I hid it away inside a separate page so that it's not right here, but I can click on it to see what skills I'm working on, or to read all my coping plans, so I can have that easily accessible to remind myself of. Actually, coping plans should probably be in the important pages. I'm going to move that right now. There we go. And I have I also like to, on a page like this, have some quick links to like my Google Drive folder that I share with my therapist or whatever. But yeah, that will pretty much wrap up the workshop. Oh wait, no, further learning. So if this sounds fun to you, and if you want to learn even more about how to do cool stuff with Notion, there's so much information on YouTube. I definitely recommend just searching around for Notion tutorials. But you should know that Notion changes a lot, so you should keep an eye on how recent any tutorials are that you're looking at. Anything more than a year, I would try to find tutorials that are less than a year old. If it's more than a year old, that doesn't mean it'll be wrong, but things on the screen might be located in different places, stuff like that. So it could still be useful, but I would say generally try to look for things within a year or even within 6 months. There's just so much Notion content on YouTube that it shouldn't be hard to find recent things, because people are just creating it all the time. If you get stuck on something with Notion, there's this amazing website called notionanswers.com, where you can just, ask any question about how to use Notion, and people will answer that for you. Or the Notion Reddit is also a really good place to ask questions about Notion. Or just also, the Notion Reddit is great for just seeing examples of how other people are using it. If you want to look on YouTube for more YouTube tutorials, some of my favorite people are Marie Poulin. She's definitely one of the all-time Notion geniuses. Thomas Frank, I think, is kind of the biggest Notion YouTube creator or whatever. Like, he has information on pretty much everything related to Notion. August Bradley is the person who, like, I follow his system the most on how he uses Notion, and he's the one that created the Pillars, Pipelines, and Vaults system. And then another good channel is Productive Dude, who has a lot of videos with good information about how to use Notion. And yeah, one other thing you might want to look into is the AI features. I don't know anything about them really because I can't afford to pay for the subscription for it. But if that sounds cool to you, it's definitely worth checking into because it seems like it does interesting stuff. I also don't know about the like data privacy and stuff like that if you're using it, so that might be a, you know, you might want to research more on that if you're thinking about using it. But yeah, that wraps us up. Um, if you still have any questions about Notion, you can contact me anytime. I love talking about Notion. It's just really fun to me. Um, so CZMT is my username here on YouTube. That is my username pretty much everywhere. So czmt@gmail.com if you want to email me. Discord @czmt. Twitter @czmt. Instagram @czmt. This is okay. Ignore this part about like, you know, if you got something from this workshop and want to give something back. I was mentioning that that's on this page more for when I do this live, for if people wanted to pay something for the live version of the workshop. But I mean, it like I wouldn't think that anyone would feel like I don't. This was my practice session, this virtual workshop, so I don't feel like it's worth money. So you can ignore that part. But if you're in Pittsburgh, next Sunday at 12 p.m., I'm doing an in-person version of this workshop at Prototype Pittsburgh. And if you need information about that, you can contact me in any of the ways that are on the screen. And also, I am available for like Notion coaching or like making a custom Notion setup for you. If you want like more like really in-depth help setting up anything with Notion. So that's also something you can reach out to me for. Yeah, and I'll just, before I sign off, just ask again real quick, does anyone have any questions? If you don't have a YouTube account, then you can message me on Discord or wherever else you know me, on Twitter, whatever, real quick. I will just stay on for like 2 more minutes and check if anyone sends me a question in one of those ways. Okay. I don't think anybody has questions. So, um, yeah. Thank you all for watching. I hope that it was able to be helpful to you. And yeah, feel free to ask me Notion questions anytime. Have a lovely rest of your day.